She was a spitfire in the sweetest of ways. She was devoted to her family and very, very loving to all the people around her. She was the most accepting person I ever knew and met. She loved everybody for exactly where they were at and who they were. You know, she wanted you to be the best you could be, but she loved you where you were. And it was always a comfort to be around her. She was very driven, and her nickname was the Golden Child. Her family called her the Golden Child because she was driven in such a way that once she decided to do something, she did it and made it look effortless and was really graceful about how she did it. But it always took her work. You know, it didn't just come. She worked for the things that she got. She was always very physically fit and into lifting weights. She was tiny, you know, 5'2", and she could go into a gym and lift weights with any male in that gym. And she just got the biggest kick out of that because she knew walking in that they looked at her and saw a pretty little girl. And what they saw when she left was a fierce woman. And I think that was true for a lot of areas of her life.
What was your initial reaction to seeing the news that Afghanistan was quickly falling to the Taliban, and did you think that Nicole would play a part in our response?
We knew she'd be there. She was already deployed, or she was on a boat in the ocean, in the Atlantic, doing some training. So we knew her proximity. And we knew, again, her driven nature, that if she could be there, she would be there. So when she called to tell us, hey, I'm going, we knew. We already knew. The last time I talked to her, she was really proud. It was maybe 5 days before she died. And she was just really proud of the work she was doing. She knew she was saving lives. She just told me that she had never seen such desperation in her life. She just said, Mom, they're throwing their babies at me. That was the last time we talked to her.
When did you first hear about the attack at Abbey?
So my son, Jared, Nicole's husband, or widower, lives in North Carolina, you know, with Nicole. I live in Oregon, but we were together on a family vacation with my husband and my younger son. So we were all in California together at a casino. And Jared was playing poker, playing some slot games with my husband, and my younger son and I were actually in the gym at the casino. And it came on the news that there had been 13 casualties, you know. And I went and found my older son, and he knew right away. I said, Mom, something's not right. He just knew she was one of them right away.
How did the Department of Defense get in contact?
He knew, we knew. We stayed up all night. That was like late afternoon, evening when we saw it on the news, and we just were up in our hotel room, nobody saying anything all night. And then sometime around like 4:30, my phone rang because he was on leave and had reported as being with me. We found out later that the Keikos had actually been in Oregon at my house, and my neighbor intercepted them and said, you know, they're on vacation, you know, call. And so all they said is, what is your location? And, you know, we knew. So I just said, let me hand the phone to my son. And I gave it to my son, and he told him where we were. A couple hours later, it was about 9 o'clock. The Keikos showed up to the casino and, you know, called my son's phone and said, please come down to the lobby. And so we went down to the lobby, and I remember looking at the elevator. The elevator had like a date stamped stamp that was scrolling across the LED screen, and it said August 27th. And I knew my life's never going to be the same.
The DoD's report into it essentially says that it was unavoidable. Hearing from other families and what they've heard from Marines who were there, they vehemently disagree with that assessment, and I wanted to see what your thoughts about that are.
I also disagree, obviously, and you only know what you know when you know it, and I didn't know half of this stuff before I showed up at Dover to claim my daughter's body. What I know now is that what's unavoidable in war is something like extortion 17. When something gets shot out of the sky, that's unavoidable. When you send troops into the ground to do your work as a politician and they're killed, it's avoidable. I don't know how. I'm neither a politician nor a military expert. I'm a mom who sent my daughter, who came back in a body bag. But I can tell you there's a better way, and it is avoidable. To say it's unavoidable is a coward's way. Again, shot out of the sky, unavoidable. Killed on the ground in a evacuation that was peaceful and humanitarian is the epitome of avoidable.
At the time, some of the Gold Star families didn't want President Biden to be present for the dignified transfer, or even meet with him. What was your kind of thoughts about his presence being there?
So my son was active duty Marine Corps at the time. My son said to me, "Mom, we will accept our Commander-in-Chief's condolences and you will be polite." And that is what I did.
When you see reports, that came out just over the weekend about how there were still 800 Americans that were left behind in Afghanistan that wanted to leave, is my understanding of it. But 800 were left behind by the time we pulled out, and they're still trying to get some more people out. How does that make you feel? How does that make your family feel?
The evacuation was not only a failure, it was a massacre. You guys, 13 of our troops were killed, 26 wounded, and you still didn't get everybody out. You left the base in shambles, and we left like cowards. And that's how I feel about the end of the evacuation. I really do.
Nicole did get a lot of attention in the aftermath of the attack because she was, pictured days earlier holding an Afghan baby, and she had posted on her Instagram with that picture and saying that she loved her job. Was that not surprising to see her do an act like that at all? How did that make your family feel, seeing that kind of moment in the midst of all this kind of chaotic sadness?
We were so proud because it was humbling. The entire world got to see what we always knew of our daughter. She was that person her whole life. She was always the person who would go above and beyond, especially for children. She was like a mama bear before she was, she wasn't ever a mama, but she knew that kids are the most important part of our life. They're the most vulnerable, and they should be protected first. And she was a huge proponent for that. And it didn't surprise us a bit to see that picture and to see her out there living her best life in the midst of hell. That was our reaction. Our girl in the midst of hell is dirty. She's sleepy. You can tell she's skinny. She's still going, "I love my job," because that's who she was. Every single day, no matter how hard, was going to be her best day.
What do you want the rest of the country to know about Nicole and about what happened to her in Kabul?
That if she were here today, she wouldn't change it. Us as Americans need to be more aware of what our veterans are sacrificing for us. They go to countries unknown where they don't want to be. They don't agree with what's happening. They get their freedoms actually taken away from them to fight for us to have continued uninterrupted freedoms. And it blows my mind. My son couldn't even come on vacation with me without asking his government. And that's because he's a Marine who does it proudly. And I think that as Americans, we've lost sight of that. We had 13, 18, 19, 20 babies die so that me, Mama Bear, can go out and get tattoos and do what the hell I want every day. We lose sight of that, and it needs to come back. It has to come back. This year's been hard, obviously, and we've been in kind of a survival mode. Our intention is to start something that really supports female veterans, because it is an underrepresented and underserved group. We also know that Nicole's death, while tragic for our family, is going to pave the way for future women in the Marines. And we're proud of that. And we know she would be too. So we're going to do what we can to celebrate that and to celebrate our female veterans.